In this video, we'll be going through the installation of AdminStudio Suite and Microsoft SQL or SQL Server Express. If you haven't already, please watch the pre-installation checklist video first. That video went through the system requirements for AdminStudio Suite. We also provided a link to the latest version of Microsoft SQL Server Express in that video too. Also, as was pointed out in the previous video, you can get access to Flexera software technical support for free during your 21-day evaluation. Please make sure you are registered for this support in case you have any technical questions or come across any issues during your evaluation. Now, if you've done both of those steps, we can move forward. Let's go now and set up AdminStudio. Before we begin, what I've done in the demo you'll see in a second is I've downloaded the full installation for SQL Server Express already. This is a couple of screenshots from the original installer that I downloaded directly from Microsoft. As you can see, I chose to download the media, and then I chose the Express Core package. That's what we need in order to fully install AdminStudio. So if you're planning to install AdminStudio evaluation on a test machine in your network that may not have direct internet access, this way you have the full install for Express as well as the full install for AdminStudio that you can install both for. So now, let's go forward. So I have a test machine here, and I have the full AdminStudio installation as well as the SQL Server Express install. Let's kick off the SQL Server Express install first. Let's choose a directory on where to export or extract the information. Now that the extraction is completed, we'll go ahead and install a new standalone installation. Now, after this installation is completed, if you'd like to install the SQL Server Management Studio tools or anything else, you can. But for purposes of the AdminStudio evaluation, all you need is the base installation. Set up Microsoft Update to check for any updates. So in my case, no updates available. And then it does a check to make sure that my machine meets all the requirements. It does give me a warning here about Windows Firewall. I can click on that if I want to. It does let me know that if I'm playing for other machines to be able to connect to this server, that I may need to make sure that I set up an exception to my firewall. But again, I'm just going to keep my installation local, so that should be fine. And for the AdminStudio evaluation, the standard installation features are fine, so I'm just going to leave all those there. If you want to change any of the installation directories, you may. And then I can choose whether I want to have a named instance or a default one. For AdminStudio, it doesn't matter. We can work with either one. If you set the default instance, you really just need the server name. If you have the named instance, you do need the server names / and then the named instance. So I'll leave that there as SQL Express. Turn on service accounts if you want to. The database engine is set to turn on automatically, so when you start up the machine, it's running and available. The SQL Server browser is disabled. I'm going to make that automatic. That way, AdminStudio will be able to see the SQL Server is available and see the information there. If you go over to the collation settings, this is the collation that AdminStudio must have set for its database in order for it to work properly. So this is the required collation. In North America, this is the standard default, and many English parts of the world. But if you've downloaded a different setting, or you might have an existing SQL Server setup with different collation, this needs to be set up this way in order for AdminStudio to operate correctly. You can change some other settings here. Authentication mode. AdminStudio works with both Windows as well as SQL Server authentication. I'll just leave it set to Windows authentication mode. You can always change this later too. If you need to change any of the data directories or temp information, you certainly can too. If you have any questions, further questions on this information, you can contact your database administrator. And now we'll go ahead and let it set up. Okay, and if SQL Server Express installation succeeded correctly, it'll give you all the success statuses here, and if there's any issues, it'll tell you that as well. I would consult Microsoft support if you do have any issues here. So now that we've installed SQL Server Express, we can now install AdminStudio. So I've downloaded the latest version of AdminStudio from Flexera. It has the full installation in there. Go ahead and hit next here to begin, accept the license agreement. Choose the install location. I'm running this on a 64-bit machine, so it's program files x86, AdminStudio, and the version. Now there's an AdminStudio shared location. Now this is where certain settings for AdminStudio are stored. The connection information to the application catalog that we'll set up as soon as we're done with the full AdminStudio. So the connection information for that database, settings around the repackager and its exclusion list, and some other settings. So typically in a production environment, you've got multiple people, each with their own AdminStudio license. They can connect to and point to that same shared location and share a lot of the same resources and settings. That way you don't have to reconfigure it each and every time. I'm going to leave it the default here, but you know, especially in production, you probably would specify maybe a UNC path or a map drive that you could point AdminStudio to. And you have the option to choose either a typical or a custom setup. Custom allows you to deselect certain features within AdminStudio if you don't want to install it. Most people want to evaluate the full AdminStudio experience, so I'll go ahead and choose typical here. And then we'll let it install. Okay, so if the AdminStudio installation was successful, you'll see it's completed successfully. If not, there'll be an error message, and that's a good time to contact Flexera software technical support, and we can help you further there. All right, so now I've installed Microsoft SQL Server Express. I've also installed the latest version of AdminStudio. Now let's go ahead and create an application catalog database so that I can start importing and testing my applications. So you can go to the Start menu. You go down to find AdminStudio in a group here, and you'll want the AdminStudio at the top. It does require administrator privileges. So then you're presented with this screen. So you have a few different options here. When you first install AdminStudio on your machine, that is when the 21-day evaluation starts. So if you install AdminStudio on a Monday and don't get it until Wednesday, when you launch AdminStudio for the first time on Wednesday, you'll see you only have 19 days left. So make sure that you install AdminStudio on the first day you plan to put time to evaluate it. So it'll present you an option. You have 10 seconds to select a different option if you'd like. Otherwise, it'll automatically choose to continue to evaluate AdminStudio. Once you've purchased the AdminStudio solution from Flexera, you can choose to activate it. If you have some other licensing options, you also have the ability to connect AdminStudio to one of those. For this, I'm going to continue to evaluate AdminStudio. You can participate in our customer experience program. We'll send information back to Flexera in case any issues come up. We'll track that information and learn more about and be able to improve AdminStudio. So I usually recommend saying yes. And then when you launch AdminStudio for the first time, you are presented with this, so creating a default application catalog. In the evaluation of AdminStudio, you're only allowed to create one catalog, one database, so that's what we'll go through next. In the full product, you can create multiple application catalogs if you so choose. If I had an existing one, I could go ahead and select that here, but I don't, so I'm going to create a new application catalog. That starts the new application catalog wizard. Now server, because I chose the turned on the SQL or SQL browser service, it should click on here. It should find that information. Okay, so you can see my server name, and you can see there's a backslash and there's SQL Express. So that was the instance name when I set up SQL Server. That's what I chose. If I had put something else as that instance name, I would have chosen that. If I had chosen the default instance, I wouldn't have to specify this backslash and the instance name here. So that's there. If I need to change anything, I can do that. I'm going to use Windows authentication. We do support server authentication, as I mentioned before. If I choose server, I would have an ID and password. And again, for this evaluation, this is locked. This is what the catalog, the database name is going to be called. It's going to be called AdminStudio Evaluation Catalog. Now I can't change that in the evaluation, but in the full product I can change and specify any catalog name I want to, and I can create as many catalogs as I want. You can do a test connection to make sure that everything's good. Test connection succeeded, that's good. You can move forward. That gives me an option to create the software repository. Software repository is a managed file share that AdminStudio will create. You point it to the root or the top folder. Usually you specify a UNC path, so // server name /share, for example, and you specify a service account that has access to read and write to that directory. And what the software repository allows you to do is to have AdminStudio, in essence, copy packages into that file share and use that when applications are imported into the catalog. Some advantages of that: you get ability to manage versioning of applications. So if you make changes to it, we keep older versions. There's a check-in, check-out management process. Keep in mind that software repository feature in the full product is only available in the Enterprise edition. So if you decide to purchase AdminStudio later, standard or professional software repository would be a feature there. I'm going to, for the evaluation purposes, keep it simple. I'll just choose to not install it. The advantages of not installing a software repository: if you already have an existing file share with all your package information organized the way you want to, most organizations, if they have that, they choose to just continue to use what they have and not use a software repository. So when you import applications, we'll just point back to that existing file path wherever it was imported. Now it's going to run a series of SQL scripts on the database and create my catalog. As was pointed out before, Windows Firewall is enabled in my instance here. It's letting me know there is a web service that runs. So if I need to connect from outside other areas, other machines or something like that, I may want to enable that. For purposes of my evaluation, private networks such as home and office is fine. Okay, so you should see a AdminStudio evaluation catalog creation succeeded. We can hit finish here. In AdminStudio, the evaluation is connected. You can even see at the top here, you can see my server name, the machine I'm running on, the instance if there is one, and then in parentheses is the catalog name, in this case the AdminStudio evaluation catalog. So now AdminStudio is installed. as well as SQL Express, and AdminStudio has created a database within SQL Express. So I can go over now to Tools. These are all the different tools that are available within AdminStudio. And this is, to point out, this is the Enterprise Complete with Mac and Mobile. What that means, this is the full high-end edition with all the different add-on packs available to AdminStudio. So you can really evaluate the full capabilities within AdminStudio. So if I go to the Application Manager, I can launch that. You get the evaluation dialog again. So I'm going to choose to continue to evaluate. And now I'm ready to go ahead and import applications. In the next video, I'll go through actually importing some applications and running through the testing capabilities. But at this point, you're ready to go. And the catalog's all stood up. All right, and that's it. AdminStudio is ready for your evaluation. There is another video, as I mentioned, that walks you through many of the capabilities that AdminStudio provides for your organization. You can choose to watch that video now or later on. If you should have any further questions, you can contact Flexera Software by clicking on the Contact Us link on the screen here, or by calling us at one of our phone numbers that corresponds to your region of the world. Hope this video was helpful and will guide you towards a successful AdminStudio Suite evaluation. Thanks for watching.